Hello, everyone. Okay, I think we are set up here. So welcome to the latest stream. There was a little hiatus there as we were, as I was, having a vacation and things of that nature. And yeah, but we're back. I haven't been able to do kind of like what I mentioned about having the kind of high level stream and the low level streams. We're pretty much only been doing the low level streams, and I do like the low level streams because it's like I know what's going to happen, so it's nice, and yeah, the high level stuff is really only popular over in the US, and the time of this stream is not a really good one for the US, but I'm definitely going to get to that in September. So starting next week, I'm going to be in San Francisco for a while, so I will be doing those live streams over there, so I'll have a lot less kind of pressing things to do, I guess. Have a little bit more time anyway. So we will be doing those kind of like agent streams. If you remember, like the last agent stream that I did, I was kind of getting into, well, let's take the brain, model that, and change that into a agent of some sort. And yeah, that's still the plan. I think that is probably going to work. I'm interested to see how well it works or how not well it works. And yeah, in September I'll be doing that. Like our goal will be to like, try to get the agent to be working 24/7, right? Like right now with like a BabyAGI type of thing, it's not going to work forever. It eventually starts running out of context, or there's too much context essentially in the instructions, and things kind of get out of hand. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. And I think it's kind of really, really important for our platform to have an agent that's going to be stable in a long running type of thing, even if it's not super capable. Not like, I don't think we're going to get to AGI right away. But before we can get to AGI, we do need something that's like, LLM stable agent that can, not just enact a script, right, which is what most agents are doing today, which is, if you have a RAG type of solution, it's going to be, like it's hard coded, how it goes about solving the issue, which is always, like look up some stuff and summarize the output, right? Those are hard coded kind of streams of agents. What we're trying to do here is to make an agent that you can, let it figure things out, right? So it's got to, make a plan, try things, and I think, it needs to do that for a long time, right? You might be giving it something that it's a multi-step, multi-day type of job. Like for example, let's say I have 1,000 websites that I needed to crawl and extract certain, like simple data points from it, like part numbers or things like that. And yeah, that's going to be something that takes longer than an hour or 30 minutes. And, we still have a limited context length. And in theory, right, like as long as you have something that's kind of in control, it doesn't need to stuff the task with a bunch of context to do things. So the planning and execution of that is super important, and something that I do think that we can use inspiration from the brain structures to kind of figure out the best way to do it. I think that having the left and right hemispheres is actually super important. Is something that we take for granted the fact that our brains have like two different hemispheres, and one is like always predicting the output of the other, and something with those two things kind of comes together to make our own consciousness. So it's like very, very interesting that that's set up that way. And I think our agents, maybe the models could do something like that internally with a vector. But the problem with the way we train neural networks is if we start fine tuning a network, vectors aren't going to be compatible, right, going forward. So having things be in language is actually a pretty good feature, right? So having kind of like language-based ensembles is something I think is really interesting to look into more, and we are going to do it. One interesting thing that I've kind of dug up from my closet is this book, and the first chapter is on agents and stuff like that, and they have a bunch of like pseudocode, pseudocode and like illustrations of what an agent can look like. And when they made this, I don't think they had like language models in mind, but because they're explaining it to a person and they're using like books and stuff, they frame the internals of the agent as like either with like questions, like English questions, or like prepositions in like like a logical language, like Prolog or something like that. So for example, we have this model-based reflex agent, which might be mirrored for you guys, or at least it's mirrored for me, but maybe you guys see it right. You can see how they're kind of showing the agent and the environment, and then there's like questions how what does it say, how the world evolves, what my actions do, and these kind of things. And yeah, like that's English. And I kind of think a language model can answer those questions. So I'm going to be trying these out all through the live streams, putting on Twitter and things like that, to see if I can kind of go the next step. I think BabyAGI is not necessarily like there's many iterations of BabyAGI, but I don't think it's going to be the final. Like that's not everything we need for like a real AGI, I think, but it's definitely one of the first steps, an important one. And because it's simple, it's nice to try things out, and I want to do that. Now, the thing that's a constant fear with these agents is, good Lord, they're going to cost a lot of money, right? The GPT-4 API is not cheap. Having bigger and bigger context and also doing the fine-tuning that I think is necessary is going to be very, very expensive. And I worry about that, and I keep my eyes on local models because a local running model is like a fixed cost, right? And so if I have a workstation that can run that model, even if it runs a little slow, I can have my agent running 24/7, and I don't have to worry about getting a bill or getting a rate limited or anything like that, because it's just for me. And I just so happen to have a little data center with a few servers in it, with vector engines. Those, like many of those vector engines, are dedicated to Vecto, which is our vector database. But I do have some that are currently idle with nothing particularly interesting to do right now. And in the last live stream, we got the vector engine running on those, or we got Llama running on the vector engine. And yeah, that's a great way to use those idle machines, like otherwise idle machines. So I'm gonna try to, I'm gonna try and get that set up today. See if we can kind of use the vector engines to be like Llama servers, like ChatGPT servers, essentially, and then see if we can't get BabyAGI to use those instead. That will be quite a lot of work to do, I think, mainly because, so we do have the XAI GPT server, and that thing is currently using like the CPU or the GPU, essentially. And that's great, but the vector engine is kind of really good. So let me showcase some work that Eric from NEC has done. Hey guys, I see two people are here. So let me showcase this. Let me first start sharing my screen. Share screen, and we'll share screen 2. Okay, so Eric from NEC, kind of one of the lead engineers of the vector engine project, has looked at our video, like one of the last live streams, and optimized it. So he took the matmul that I was kind of struggling to optimize, and he kind of got it to be as perfect as it can be. So we were using cblast function, and he just kind of finished it, right? So now this is no longer using an external library, but this code is doing things. And essentially the cool thing about this is that if we were to have an A100 80 gigabytes, which is what I have a couple of those. Using the Hugging Face library, we'd get 20 tokens per second, but with the Aurora VE20B, which is also what I have, we can get a little bit more, like 26 tokens per second. Let me show you what that looks like. So for example, if I take the ones that we have here, run some sort of, to call run out Llama2 bin. Yeah, so in here I'm compiling and running it on the vector, and so we can ignore this compile time. But yeah, it kind of runs pretty quick. I would say very similar to GPT-4 speeds. So let me bring up Technologic here. Where's my Technologic window? Okay, yeah. So here I am. Let me ask it the same thing here. Let's start a new conversation. Go here, start it. And GPT-4 is like, cblast is a function. Here's a simple example of how to use it. Include, right? We got our little UI bug there. Yeah, it's still going. We got like, what, 10 seconds now. Still going. And we're calling it there. And it's going. Okay, so I did that. So anyway, so let's do it this way. So let me see if I can get an inst. So if we run it this way, see, GPT-4 is just going to keep going and going as it talks about all this stuff. We're going to run it like this. I think that works. Yeah, so you can see it's quite a little bit faster. It's not working right now. I got to check why that is. But yeah, it's a little bit faster. So we're good in terms of like performance and stuff like that. But anyway, so in today's stream, I want to try make use of this model for BabyAGI. So that's what we're going to do. I do think I have a Jupyter Lab here. And because we have a few, VEs that are kind of empty, it makes a lot of sense to use this instead of an A100, which is more expensive. And I wish I had a VE 3.0. That has crazy good performance in terms of tokens per second. Although I do know there are probably more streamlined kind of implementations of Llama for GPUs. So I don't have the illusion that I have like something super fast, right? Like faster than anything else. Just that, I have something that's pretty decent in terms of performance, right? Much better than the CPUs would do. And I don't have to worry about how much it's going to cost me if we do it that way. So, yeah. So anyway, so I'm going to start with taking the BabyAGI sample, and I'm going to, can I copy? No, let me duplicate that, and then see if I can move it. There we go. Let's rename that to BabyAGI Llama. Okay, cool. So this is that. So this is a very low level kind of thing that I don't think, users of the platform aren't going to be going down to this level. But yeah, anyway, so we do have this example. Let's see that if it runs okay. Some compulsory ports that are missing. Where do we have compulsory ports that are missing? Ah, the objective. So what should the objective be? I don't know. Produce a list of what's like not trivial, right? Like, it's a good question. I want it to be something that it needs to think of. So I don't want to give it give me a list of primes because it can just make that up. I need it to generate a program of some sort and run that program. How about produce the first 10-digit palindrome in pi? I don't know, like that. That's kind of, who knows if it's going to be able to do that. Yeah, but anyway, so this is running GPT-3.5 Turbo. That may or may not work so well. I need to connect the objective also to the task creator agent and also to the task prioritizer agent. Okay, so that should work. So let's run that. Import math, Meister. I don't think that's going to work very well. Yeah, so if you look at what it's trying to do, it's going to take math.pi, make it a string, then find the digits. Unfortunately, math.pi is not infinite precision, so it's kind of dumb. Let's see if GPT-4 is a little bit better. Yeah, that's the problem with GPT 3.5. It's kind of dumb. And the problem with GPT-4 is it's kind of expensive. So we'll see. But anyway, so I've in general, I don't care if it can actually do it or not. I just want to see it trying. Wow, that's so much. That is so much better, dude. Yeah, I mean, it didn't work, but that's so much better. Anyway, okay, cool. So let's go here, and I want to change this to let's call it Llama2. Okay. Now that's not going to work because it's using OpenAI, and that's not going to work. But let's open the script, and I do think OpenAI custom endpoint, there's a way to tell this thing to use a specific URL instead of api.openai.com, which is what we want. I do think that is possible. But they don't have it documented, so that's a little annoying. But I'm pretty sure it does exist. So that's how you create something. Okay, so Microsoft Azure endpoint. So essentially you can create your own endpoint there. Then that has to be API base. An API version. Okay, so let's add that. So we'll put API base, which will be an optional string. Right. And then if self.api base.value is something, then we're going to set the base to the self.api base.value and the version to that. And if not, we don't do anything. Okay, now let's reload. Now we have this API base. Let's set it to be HTTP :// localhost. I don't know, 8080 something. Okay, let's see if this fails. It should, because we don't have anything running at localhost 8080. Okay, that's cool. So we know we can change the API base to whatever we want. Now this is running on my local and not on the platform, so that makes it slightly easier for me. So let's see. Let's open a new terminal. Okay, and I do think I have, let's say, LLM server here. Right. Okay. And if I run, if I look at what our models, we have nothing in models. Nothing in models. Where did I implement nothing? Okay, so if I go to projects, expressing XAI, LLM server, the models, yeah, and there's the Llama2 model there. Okay, so I can run this on my Mac, and that'll make things slightly easier for testing. Okay, so that is running on localhost 5000. Okay, so let's go here, change this to localhost 5000, and see if that runs. Got a 404. And I got a 404 because it was asking for get ADA embedding. That's a good point. We don't have an embedding. So that sounds to me like a good reason to use Vecto. So the reason why we need this embedding is because we're using this NumPy memory as our vector database. And BabyAGI uses a vector database to form a kind of memory. So every task gets put into the vector database, and then when there's a new task, it looks up similar tasks that it's done, and the idea is that it could use that as a memory of doing things before and doing it the right way, right? Like if it ran into some problem, it would do it the right way. But because of that, it needs to call OpenAI and store those vectors directly, which is a problem for us. Luckily, if you use Vecto, you don't need to do that. Because Vecto will do the stuff for you, essentially. So I do think we can use this instead. So this is connected to the execute Python tool. That's not what I wanted. There we go. So let's move this over here. Let's move this Vecto memory over here, like so. Okay, and then in app.vecto.ai, I can sign in. And I think I'll use AutoGPT space 1. Right, I think I can use that. Let me see if I have a Vecto key. Yeah, that's perfect. So, and I do think we will initialize it every time. Use my mouse so that works. Oh man, why am I the only one that has this bug? It's very annoying. Why does this happen so much? Okay, so we will initialize it every time, and the vector space will be AutoGPT space 1. Okay, now we need to connect this memory to the correct locations. So we'll use that. The first location is the tool runner, needs the memory. So we'll disconnect this and go from the memory here to this memory there. And that did not connect. And I wish so much that reconnecting it after the fact would work. It doesn't. There we go. Because it's yellow, it works. And then we also need to connect to the executor agent. Disconnect that and connect it to there. Okay, so that is connected. Cool. And then just let's clean this up with a little bit of wiring. We'll get rid of that. Okay, so I think that is all. And let's save and run this again and see what it does. This document has no results. And that is some sort of vector memory bug. So let's look into that. I have the feeling I updated the thing. The issue was specifically, let's do that again. Okay, list has no results, right? So we get a list already from VS lookup, so we don't need to do that anymore. I think that's a great change, and that is in agent components 136. Let's go to 136 up here. That's an 896. Yeah, 896. Okay, so for 896, there should be this thing here. We don't need to do that. Let's run that again. Okay, cannot import vector toolbit from Vecto as we updated. And I haven't updated the Vecto components. Which is unfortunate, but not terrible. But anyway, okay, so we have the Vecto memory. Let's see where I have the built. We have that. So Vecto. Okay, so we have now slightly different API, which we can see in defined documentation over at vecto.ai. If I'm not mistaken. Should be something similar to this. So there's vector space ingest image. We can ingest text, right? And lookup. So the lookup worked, and where we had the whole vector tool built stuff, we can just ignore. So, so we have self VS lookup, and if I'm not mistaken, we can just do vector space ingest text. So this, and then do self vector space ingest text. And hopefully it's okay with a single text and a single metadata. I think that should work. Let's run that. I think there's maybe one more place where I had a tool belt. Could be wrong. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so now everything is running, and it finished because we asked it to develop a task list, and it didn't. So Llama's not off to a great start. Something's weird though, because that should have worked. Let me see. What if it's not doing, so if we look here, it did a call to embeddings, but I don't see any other calls to the other things. And what I think is happening right now is that we're specifying the model's Llama2, but the library doesn't know what that is, and then it refuses to do anything. So I'm going to call this GPT 3.5 Turbo, which is the original, right? And in this project, we're going to modify AppPy a little bit and call this one not Llama2 7B chat, but GPT 3.5 Turbo. And not be fair, but whatever. Okay, so let's try this and see if that works. Okay, so we didn't find something, but we got somewhere. Okay, so it tried to post to chat completions, and I thought we had support for chat completions. Okay, so we are looking for V1 chat completions, but it's not using V1. That is weird. Okay, so we'll do chat completions there. There's one more. Or no, there wasn't one more. So we had 2 routes. Let's search for route. Just that. Let's fix that server and rerun it. That's interesting. So we got an error. It was a really weird one. Okay, so what happened? We got a call to chat completions API, and it said that none type is not callable. And that means that model didn't work. And that means that this is not getting looked up. Oh, that's so annoying. Okay, so I think we are doing... I'm not sure if we're doing the streaming. We don't need to do the streaming, so it kind of makes sense. We have generate answer model name. And if we just give it the default of GPT. That way, if we get something that we don't know, whatever, we're just going to use the default, which would be GPT 3.5 Turbo. Okay, still more errors. Okay, so we are in line 217. Let me get another terminal here so we can look at both of these. Okay, so 3217J will be here. And should be that model is none. Model is none. all names on the models. Then we call get model, redo the models, and get model. Let me see if I made it almost smart. If model name starts with llama, okay, yeah, that's where a little too smart. Let's say if it starts with GPT, then we assume llama. Okay, so I don't trust that restart. Let's do it this way. And I will rerun this. Okay, so now we're generating stuff, which is good. Cool, we have progress. I'm very interested to see what it says. Ah, that's dumb. Okay, so we asked it to develop a task list where the task is to produce the first 10-digit palindrome in pi, and it says, I'm just an AI. I don't have personal preferences or feelings. Yeah, Llama2's maybe a little too dumb for this. But that doesn't matter. It's, I guess, or maybe it does matter quite a bit. What in the world is it talking about? Like the word fungus is a noun. Makes no sense. That gives me the question. Wait a second. So llama is dumb, but I also have RWKV here. So what if I change this back to llama? Llama2 7B chat. And I do think this should work. So what I'll do is I'll duplicate this twice and set this to be the GPT 3.5 go. And then in the get model part, where we did that starts with GPT, I'm just going to change that back to llama. And then instead of RKWV or RWKV, I'll put this to GPT. Okay, so RWKV is a different model. So let's see how that works. Let's see if it works at all, if I didn't forget something. No, didn't work at all. Didn't work at all because I don't have that directory for that model. And that makes sense because I don't have that model here. I have that model somewhere else. That's annoying. Okay, so let's go in here. We've got the LM server, BI app.py, and essentially do the same thing. So we'll call this GPT 3.5 Turbo. And then in get model, didn't have that in there, so that's fine. And then instead of v1 check completions, it should just be check completions. I feel like, yes, and then model name. So I'm guessing we don't get the model name from the opening, I think. So let's make this GPT-3.5 Turbo. So what I should do is make, like, yeah, I'm doing this in the dumbest way possible. Now that I think about it a little bit, totally dumb. Okay, so now we can Python app.py. Let me fix the missing comma. Come on. Model's empty here. Where was I running this? But I do have it in the SSD, right? So SSD, models, WKV. Yeah, I totally have all that stuff there. So I will make MNT SSD models RWKV. Be linked to that folder. Okay, so that works. And I think RWKV English. Yeah, it makes me wonder, where did I have version 9? Ah, right. This system doesn't have a GPU. That's why it's not there. So where did I put it? That's a very good question. Okay. So let's go back to my local machine. Terminal 2 is that. Let's go to terminal 3. Okay, so let's go to XAI LLM server. I have Llama2 here. Oh, I'm only wondering about if RWKV does better or not. It probably doesn't. So let's try to make it work with Llama2. I think that's probably better. So let's source the VM and Python. Okay, so let's rerun Llama2 here. And I think I might have forgotten that I changed some stuff. I changed some stuff here. Anyway, let's do things the smart way. So Llama2 7B chat is now the default if we don't receive anything. So in get model, instead of this, we're going to use what it originally was, RWKV. And then down here where I have the model name, instead of making the default be GPT-3.5 Turbo and then changing everything else, we'll just set this to be Llama2 7B chat. So easier. So that's why you can't really blame, GPT 3.5 or Llama 2 for being dumb, because it turns out humans are kind of dumb too, especially this one. Okay, so we are in, this model is none again. So that must mean we are receiving it. Okay, so if we are getting that model for whatever reason, I can just massage it here. If model name equals UPT, or let's, if model name starts with, I think. Model name equals that. And see if I can indent it correctly. Oh. Okay, let's try this again. Oh, now we are using the great Llama CPP to do this stuff. And my Mac is not necessarily the fastest thing for doing this stuff. But we can still see it's kind of dumb. So we don't need to do that. Let's look at okay, so the way that this works for Llama before was that it would run Llama main and do this kind of stuff. That's kind of dumb. That's why using GPT 3.5 Turbo worked. And using Llama 2 didn't. It was doing this thing and failing. So yeah, now a lot of things make sense now. Anyway, let's look at the let's look at let's look at that thing for a while, for a bit. I don't want writer, I want the IntelliJ thing. Name I cannot remember. It was called Fleet. Yes, I want Fleet. I want Fleet because I can open up the LLM server from here. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so the RWKV instruction prompt is like this, and the Llama instruction prompt is like this. And I think that is correct. Let's double check that. Llama 2. People are doing sys inst. So I think that is correct. Could be wrong. Instruction generator. Guide to prompting Llama 2. I think that's a good. Sounds good. You are a pirate. Actually, I should probably try that. Test. Okay, and that inst thing. I don't think it's special. Right? It's just like it's something that people have found kind of works. "7B is really fast but dumb." Yes, that is unfortunately very true. Okay. So our prompt. "70B is kind of good. 70B will need the A100. And I don't think I can use that. Okay, for format chap prompts with inst. Okay. So let's give that a quick shot. Right, so we'll just have instruction. Right, a new line, and then inst input. Although we might not be using that, we might be using this. So for this, we just want inst instruction / inst new line. I think seems about what that was showing. Okay, so let's save that. Let's go back here and restart the server. Let's see how much better it is. Although I don't think it'll get that much better. Okay. I'm not sure what you are saying with the thing. What do you mean? Okay. What did I do wrong? Something's wrong with this instruction. With input prompt. So let's input. So if input, we have the instruction and input, else we just have the instruction. That should be spelled correctly. Let's just do that real quick and let's see. Like, so we can see what is prompting or what we receive as the prompt. we get nothing. Okay, well that would make sense. Why do we get nothing? Instruction. See, that would make no sense if we don't have any instruction coming in. Yeah, where you get like nothing coming in. Okay, so that makes sense. Instruction is instruction. Like that. If input that is input, and that's okay. So now we can see which one we are doing, and then we need to go to generate things that call generate prompt. Would be this. And we are either streaming the answer or not. And I think here we're not streaming the answer. And we should not be in here, but instead be here. Model name. I'm debugging this. It's the only way to do it when things get complicated. And then I want the system input. And the user input. Okay, so let's see. Works. Here, restart. Play. Okay, so in here we have only the system input. Makes sense. Okay, and if I'm not mistaken, we expect that we have either both system and user or just user, but because we have only system, that's why that doesn't work. So else if system input and yeah, I think that'll work. So there, input and else. Okay, so that was a simple bug. Okay, this response thing is a little weird for Llama, so that might be something we need to change. Let's see if it can do stuff. Actually, I think this would be a better picture, but I need to move this layout a little bit. Okay, so it had a response. And hello world. Okay. So I think it just pretended to get more or less the same prompt again, which makes sense. Running the task creator agent. Okay. First task, start the task list with number 40. That's a little weird. Definitely a little bit weird. Yeah, if we look at my CPU, it's pretty much pegged for while it's doing this. So it is going to be pretty slow, but it's nice that it doesn't cost anything, you know? Okay. So now you can kind of see why everybody uses ExpressAI, or not ExpressAI, I wish everybody did, why everybody uses OpenAI. The models are really, really good. And of course, this is just the 7B model. So the 70B will have 10 times more stuff. So yeah, anyway, I don't think it's really worth continuing. This is it's never going to get it. It's like too much cognition for what, like it's too much cognition for Llama 2's specific capabilities, mental capabilities. So I don't think we need to continue there. If we do the simple one, like solve world hunger, it's not that that's a simple goal. It's just what the default is. It doesn't really require actually doing anything. Well, it will require you to do something if you actually wanted to solve world hunger, but asking BabyAGI to solve world hunger will just have it think itself to death. So it's maybe a slightly simpler task. Now, what I think we need to do is we need to change the prompt a little bit. We need to make very least, I think we'll need to add some examples. Mode disconnected. That's interesting. Totally failed to do that. But you can do. So let's do that a little bit. So let's take the default executor prompt, and you can change it in our toolkit when you don't run into this bug. Okay, so let's performs one task based on the following objective. Take into account the tasks, thoughts, or tasks, or tools. Then there's the tool thing, right? Okay. Instead of response, so what I think what we have to do for Llama, because it is it's like a pure language model and not a chatbot type of thing. Doesn't necessarily respond to questions. What I mean by that is, if you take a model like this and just say hi, it doesn't say, hi, I am something, how can I help you, right? It will say like, hi, I'm trying to sell a motorcycle, right? Like it will try to think of what comes after the word hi on the entire internet. And there's a lot of people who use Craigslist, for example. So you'll probably see like a Craigslist ad if you're lucky. So for these kind of models, we need to establish like the page that it's trying to generate. So I think what we can do is it's going to start with inst. So we'll do this. We'll end the inst, right? Then it's going to respond, right? And then we will inst the second thing, which has the actual stuff. Okay. So we need a simple objective of some sort that you can put in here. What is a good simple objective? Simple objective. How about if this is a robot, I could think of a million. It's like, yeah, do the laundry or something like that. What's a simple objective that we can use as an example? I guess we could put solving world hunger. The thing is, the first task is like, make a task list, right? And because I have the Python tool stuff, I kind of want it to be like a task that can be solved with Python. And we probably want another one that is a non-Python one. So this is to do one. And then we have inst. And let's put like save first and Fibonacci numbers into Fibonacci. Previously completed task is empty. Your thoughts. So the thoughts is, and use the Python tool to complete this task. This, you know what, it kind of makes sense. We probably want the task ahead of the thoughts. The task, which is use Python tool to generate stuff. Llama2 numbers. Your thoughts. I can use the Python tool to complete this. Your tools. What is the tools prompt in reality? Did I dismiss that? That's annoying. I dismissed it. Okay. So task creation AI prompt. You are the task creation AI prompt. Very good. You are the AI. Do the thing. Okay. So let's do that again. This time we'll take this prompt. Let's just put it over there, save and submit. Okay. And now I can edit this a little bit. So we don't need this first inst. Right. And then we'll have the following objective, which would be say, yeah, let's do the same one. Create a list of the first 10 BabyAGI numbers and save it to txt. Your task. Well, that's interesting that your task is none. Because receiving that, it really shouldn't be receiving that. It should be make a task list. Right. Thoughts, internal monologue. Okay. The monologue is full of stuff. And the stuff ends. There's the next bracket. And this prompt is all over the place when you think about it. Okay, hold on. Your tool should be that. And what it should be is something like Python exec okay, and it should actually have something more than that. Yeah, like tool scratchpad, thoughts go here, execute Python code in the virtual environment. Oh, is it just using this? Okay, I see how that works. That's weird that it's that way, but I can see that working, I guess. So I think originally I had like, name, colon, and then explanation. I think we just made it just be the explanation. Okay. So that, and we'll okay. So that's the inst. Okay, and then the task list would be like one use Python exec to generate list of Fibonacci numbers. And save to file. There is no to. Report completion or something like that. Yeah, let's do something like that. And then we'll do this again. So now this time we do need the inst. And then I'll do something like, let's solve world hunger. And what is one of the things it does when it solves world hunger? I don't like solve world hunger. It's something concrete that it can do by just doing nothing in particular. I mean, I guess I could implement the other one, right? We could take the previous one like this. The previously completed task, which was make a task list. Your thoughts. I don't think you should have any thoughts, but yeah. Your tools. Okay. For example, then I'll say tool. Python exec. Then we would do the Fibonacci thing. And then we like if ends one. And we want to before return n else and fib -1 plus fib and then if then we call fib yeah. So first this is equal to fib n for n in range 10. And then for the width open fib.txt w as f and, for fib in first 10 fibs. Right pen. Oh, if ChatGPT is down, good thing that we're using Llama. Okay, and I think we need to, does it have a right line? I'm not sure. Can't remember. Maybe a Java thing. Okay, so we write the first 10 fibs of the file. That's that. Okay, and then this task is not make a task list here. The task would be use Python to do the thing. Okay. That's that. Okay. And then the thing that I would like to do now is copy this and paste that to the end. So we have another inst. And we would use the /inst from the original thing. So this is where the things actually go for the new task executor. Okay, so let's see how that goes. And we don't care if OpenAI is down because we're doing it ourselves. And unfortunately, packages is missing. $294. Packages. Did I use packages in here? Oh, I did. Oh, let's get rid of that whole thing. Let's get rid of that. Yes. Wait, yes, let's check. Okay, so let's run that again. Check completions. Died apparently. Let's run that again. Okay, and run. Okay, does it come up with anything interesting? We'll see. But it should be better if it has like multiple things in it. It has something to refer to, and it tries to copy itself. Well, not itself, but me, anyway, because I wrote down the other thing. So it'll want to, do similar things when it outputs whatever it's going to output. Oh, that's so strange. I remember we had 70B running somewhere. Pretty sure I gave that a try. But where is it running? Unfortunately, because this is a long prompt, it's going to take a while to run. See, my computer is nice and toasty at 97 degrees. CPU is running. The interesting thing about my MacBook Pro with GGML is if I run it with Metal, it uses the GPU, but the GPU is not as fast as the CPU, which is, interesting. Okay. Oh, it's doing something. Nothing interesting, but it is doing something at least. And I'd say the outputs are a little bit better, right? But nothing too special. Which, yeah, I guess is expected given what we have. Let's see if we can stop using my CPU, right? Like I have very big servers, right, that I would rather use instead. How can we, so we could very similarly, I mean, we could run Llama like that. I mean, okay, so let me speak what I thought. So this thing, Llama, runs Llama main, right? And stuff like that. What we kind of need here is, where are we at? Let me open up the new terminal. Okay, so we're in the Hackathon project. If I ln the, yeah, can't do it here because it's not running on the vector engine. So essentially we could run the run dot whatever, like the Llama-C run executable, just like it does here, like this, but it's not running on my server. So we can't just run it. We need this, we need this thing to be running as a server. Now this runs on that, that vector engine, which is special. So how to get that to run on the server is going to be an interesting challenge. That output is really bad. Why is the output so bad? It could possibly be that this thing's wrong. Could it? Compile.sh. Again, Llama 2 isn't that special, so it's fine if it's bad. But I thought I've seen it do better than this. There's no simple soul. What is it talking about? What are you talking about, man? Let's try that again. That's a very weird output. There is no simple soul indeed. But I'm talking about multiplying matrices, you know, not that crazy. Yeah, that's so weird. I also happen to have in here not only Llama2 7B, but I also have the CodeLlama, which doesn't work the same way. So I think we want to do something like CBLAS. I think that's what we need to do. We'll see if this runs and what it looks like if it does run. Okay, so looks like there's a few more people joining. So V, that's one long variable name. That's for sure. But anyway, so for the people who are joining just now, essentially, what I'm doing right now is trying to run BabyAGI with Llama2, and I happen to have Llama2 compiled and running on my vector engine machine, which is a special machine that allows me to do things a little bit faster. We can run Llama on my Mac, so if I just start this server here, server. So if I just run this app pi, I can essentially configure OpenAI to use that server as the base API. And since this has the same API as that, I can then tell it, okay, using GPT 3.5 Turbo, which I've mapped to Llama2, we can try to run the BabyAGI stuff. And what BabyAGI is this task executor and creator and prioritizer. And in between that, there's a vector database that stores everything. So I do have it kind of running, so we can, run it and get it happening inside of Llama2. For example, this is the input that we got. And if we look at my CPU graph, you can see it gets really heavy as it's contemplating the answers to this. So I would like to do that in, the server that I have, and like offload it. It shouldn't be too bad. I would say the interesting thing is just how dumb Llama2 is compared to even GPT 3.5, which is to be expected given that it's only 7 billion parameters and that it's a pure language model more than like ChatGPT and those models. Those are kind of more instruct based models. So yeah, so let's get back into the thing. So how can we best utilize the vector engine in here? And just running it is perfectly fine, I guess. The problem is it takes some time to load, right? It needs to load the model, and that is time that's kind of wasted. So think what we'll want to do is, what if we copy the XAI LLM server app.py as server.py, and then we cat the XAI LLM server's requirements into these requirements. So whatever delta there is, that's a problem. Like that. This thing. Let's turn off this. Okay. There's a requirements.txt here. There should be a numpy. And I think let's get rid of the old one. And there's a request with a capital R. I do not like that. I do not like that at all. Okay, and then the torch. And those. Could be a problem, but maybe you're fine. Or we will be fine in this thing because we're not using Python. We're going to be running the custom C code essentially. Okay, cool. So we have that. Now let's take a look at the server here. Let's replace that with the one we've been working with, which is not this. It's this. So we have that. Cool. And in here we have out, but I will link the XAI LLM server models. Nice. Okay, so that's ish. Don't really care about the other thing so much. Yeah, we have the Llama2 7B bin here. So I'll just put this to be out. Llama2 7B bin, because we're not using quantized models on the vector engine. So how we would actually go about doing that would be an actually genuinely interesting exercise in and of itself. Okay. And that is the default. Now, what we need to do is get rid of this. This is using Llama2PP, and well, that's great. We're going to be using the vector engine this time around. So we need to do this with the run.c. So what I'm thinking of doing, I'm not sure if it's going to work out so well, is I want to change this. Essentially, if I can make I wanted I because that's the input prompt. Let's make a capital I. So if you provide capital I want it to start in interactive mode. Right? So the idea is when the server starts up and it creates the Llama class, it starts the program, and using popen listens to standard in and standard out. And then the Python program, when it needs to, will send that, the requests into the standard in and read the response out the standard out. And as long as you're doing one thing at a time, that works perfectly well. Of course, it's possible to do this not one thing at a time. So that might make things interesting. But yeah, I think that should work. This popen. I mean, the other approach that could be better is that this can start a server. Just because this is running on the vector engine doesn't mean it can't open sockets and stuff like that, which is one of the kind of cool features of the vector engine. I think you can just totally start a socket server and listen to things into the socket server. Totally valid way of doing it. Then there'd be you'd have to clean up context and stuff like that. Not sure that's the best idea per se. At least with the interactive mode, it's more fun to work with when it's in interactive mode. So maybe we can just do that. Okay, so else if vi1 equal to capital I, then we want interactive. True. And top P put interactive. Start that with false. Let's use true here. And then you want to look at where they're using the prompt. So what happens if you don't supply a prompt? You need to at least supply a prompt, right? Oh, you don't need to supply a prompt. You don't give it a prompt. What does it do? It just starts generating random stuff. Okay, so process the prompt if any. And there's the model run state. Start the main loop. Okay, for the interactive mode, what I'm thinking is we detect 2 new lines and then we stop listening, and that entered text becomes the prompt. Which works unless you want to paste multiple lines. And because this is going to be running in a server, you might have multiple lines. So that's not ideal. We can search specifically for inst. That gives us a good stop token too, so not a terrible idea. Let's about that for a bit while we look at what Llama-B spits out, or Llama2 7B spits out. So because it is being used as a server, we can totally do that. The problem is we might want to have multiple insts, right? Like what we're doing right now. To illustrate that. So in the custom prompt that I'm doing, I am, playing around with this inst tag here, essentially pretending that we finished, and therefore the model has responded with this, right? And that's not exactly, and that's good for models like this, right? Having examples makes it more likely to succeed. So we can't just listen for a /inst and say, okay, that's it, now we got to do it, because we want the user to be able to, specify multiple ints, and like double new lines, for example. So either we need another type of prompt, like some other like token combination that we look at to signify the end of a thing, end of an input, or something else. Yeah, I think there's various like XML type of tokens that we could use, which I don't think is terrible. Yeah, I think what we'll do is so one of the other styles of prompt that Llama2 seems to use is this double angle bracket sys. and something like this. So I think what we can do that's simple is say like a double angle bracket input deal. Essentially, as a user, you don't need to care about it, but from Python side of things, it's kind of expecting this to appear, and then it knows that it's done, and we'll do something like that. Yeah. I think that will work. Okay, so we have our max token length. And get a run state. Process the prompt. So essentially what I think we want is a kind of loop here. It's possible to do interactive and a prompt. Not right now. That's not right now, essentially. Anyway, so we have this for loop that will essentially do this. And we're done. And then get rid of this token per second check. We free the state. We probably want state in here. And then the free be here. Okay. And there's the prompt tokens, which we do mess with, so we'll want them in here. And what other mallocs are in here? Yeah, that probably can be it. Vocab I don't think will change. And the mapping should all be there. Okay. So this should compile and run, if I'm not mistaken. Loop is not reachable, and that makes sense. False bool is undefined. And called again? Standard bool. And this bool in caps is the Objective-C thing. Okay, and then this. That works. Reachable, expected 658. Directive equals true. Else. Exit failure. 658 is here. Ah, there we go. Okay, compile that. And if I didn't make any too big mistakes, it should just do tokens and then do it again and again and again. Seems to like the Bible, which is interesting. Okay, and since it will rerun, it should rerun with a completely different idea. So I would expect there to be less religious stuff coming out of this model. And thank God the Bible isn't written by language models. Okay, yeah, and now this is the second one. Okay, cool. So I think I didn't make any terrible mistakes, at least. And we're at a point where it will essentially do this forever. So how do we exit? So many things to think about. Okay, I think we don't care about exiting. Like, if we're an interactive, we are doing things for. And the easiest way to do that is you can have a do while loop. While interactive so what that would mean is we do this thing, and then if interactive is false, then we're done. That means that this would do it just once. Weird. My brain knew that there should be a semicolon there, but for some reason I thought, no, that's not right. I was right. Okay, I'd prefer not possibly make a few people mad, so we'll just skip crazy Bible stuff. That's not. Nothing good can come from that. I guess it really loves to do that. Or I guess it must be trained up to that, and it's just kind of doing Bible stuff next if you don't give it anything else. But anyway, it stopped, so that's good. But if I run it with interactive, and it failed, because there's a check. It's per usage. Whatever, let's make it I true. Something like that should work. I think we'll do the stream for just one more hour. And that should be in a place where we are now using the vector engine to run Llama2. And once we are at that point, we can then put the IP address of this machine instead. Interesting that it's using this S, because I've seen that every once in a while. Didn't think Llama2 is this religious. Okay, yeah, it's just going to keep going, so that's good. Okay, so makes sense. I guess I should technically, do like, if it's true, then we're true, and if it's false, we'd be false. And doing that in C is a little bit more difficult than it might be worth. You gotta use stir and conf. Yeah, screw that. Not worth it. Not what we're doing. So we do, and then what we need to do here is load up what the user typed. Is knowing C. So prompt is a string. Prompt is a string, so I think we should use that. Might not be initialized. No, we'll call it interactive prompt or something like that. Let's make it 4 kilobytes because that's enough for anyone. Big enough. Could possibly go wrong. And then we do fgets the interactive prompt. of interactive prompt. And we're reading from standard in. And that's going to be for every line. So we read a line, and then we want to put it into the prompt. So I can remember that. Okay, so we read a line from standard in. Prompt may be null. If gets will tell us the length. Yeah, it's not going to have the length of the line. To get that to work, we need to figure out the length. And we have stir copy. Was there a string concatency? I don't remember. Yes, there is a stir cat. There's a stir cat. Of course there is. So prompt, and then let's call this line instead. Line and line. Concatenate. Line into prompt. And this is all very unsecure. We don't care in our particular case right now. I think it should be like stir and cat. Stir and cat thing. Yes, that is a thing. Yeah. Okay. Not particularly that much better, but whatever. And prompt might be null, essentially, if you don't specify prompt. It is null. So if prompt is null, take to malloc, and we want to initialize this to something. Let's do 4096. we initialize it with the empty character and the null character so that we have an empty string. And then stir copy will copy this. So I think we want 8K and 192. You can handle 2,000 tokens, and that is more, or not 2,000 tokens. How many tokens can Llama2 handle? That's a good question. Let's find out. $20.48. Which is about 1,500 words, which makes sense. But we are talking about chars here. So I'm guessing that should be enough. And we concatenate that in there. And we check if stir line size of line stir line equal to input. And if stir line is equal to input, then we concatenate. That way, when we see input, we just skip that. We skip that line, and then if we see slash input, then we're done and we stop. Otherwise, we copy it into the prompt. Then prompt will not be equal to null, and we can do that. Prompt is equal to null. I think we want to also interactive. I'll do this if we're in interactive mode. Makes sense. And if we're not in interactive mode, we just do the same thing. So run again. Did something wrong. Still need this. Yeah, programming in C, it's fun. It's good to do it every once in a while. Kind of helps you appreciate when you're working in higher level languages. And yeah, one of my first jobs was doing C programming for Linux desktop things. Once you get the hang of it, it's not bad. You know, there's a lot of people who are like, they dumped Rust for C or something, and some people might not understand that whatsoever, but I kind of do. Like a simple language, and it's but it is annoying, right? Like it is interesting to like programming C is like going camping. You know, you got to do all that stuff yourself. You got to set up your tent. You got to, you know, you got to ignite some wood, right, to make dinner and stuff. You got to catch your own fish, you know. And C is very much like that. Okay, so if this is working, then I can do like input. Okay. Cool. Then eventually this will stop. Totally weird that that's what it did, so gotta check that. Yeah, something's, I have the feeling something's not right there. Def prompt. The Llama2C is it's a simple thing. So it's kind of nice. You know, a lot of the times C and C++ code bases become unwieldy very quickly. And the stuff that Carpathy does, I like a lot, because he kind of keeps it simple, and it really has just the basics. And it shows you don't really need fancy Python libraries for everything. Okay, so the prompt was input, which was not what I wanted. Let me look at stir again. Haystack and needle. Line. I'm pretty sure that will get each line. Am I wrong? Okay, so if there's some slash input we break, and if it is input, yeah, that's why. That's why. So essentially, it was like, yeah, if it's input, then we can concatenate. That's not what I wanted. If we have input, then we don't want to concatenate. And because stir returns something if there's something, or something if there's a match, right? Then we do it that way. weird that null. It's like, man, that is 1 foot gun. If I've ever seen one. It's returning the address of the beginning of the string that matches, right? So yeah, kind of different than what you would normally get with like Java and stuff like that, where they would return 0 or something like that. Anyway, so put input, hi, how are you? Question mark. Input. There we go. So we got some sort of strange email, again, from Catholic Church. It's great. It likes to talk about food. Okay, so I think run.c is where it needs to be. Okay, so now we need to look at the server. Okay, and then let's look for Llama. That's where it starts. And gets called, right? I think it does. So if text stream answer seems to only work for RWKV. And the non-streaming has both. Unfortunate, but yeah, that's how it is. Okay, and then model needs to be something that is callable with a string. And max tokens, stop, and echo. Easy enough. So let's, before we create the class, let's create a class called Llama. And then def all. One. I copied this. Good enough for now. These strings are that again, and I'm going to make a new line at the end there. Are you? Anyway, so the stop strings, I think we can take that as a stop string. And that is a stop string. In general, it means that when the model starts hallucinating the next instruction, we just go, oh, that's it. We're done with that. And ideally, when it does this, where it says the same thing twice, it's another thing that we probably want to stop for. But that's fine. Okay, so while it might not be the best one, I'm not programming for anything. I'm just programming for entertainment purposes only here. So in the constructor here, I think we'll p-open the process. And then when you call it, we will send it the input. So for that, okay, so I think we need subprocess. And then in here, what we want to do is call subprocess.popen. And we have the command. We run. I guess that works. We want to, yeah, open takes a list. Right? We have a list, run. I and true. And then our standard in is subprocess.type. Standard out is also subprocess. That. Can't forget the model, which was please do not show me this 25 gigabyte file. Thank you very much. And then when we call it, self proc standard in dot write be binary. Does it have to be binary? That's a good question. Let's see if it works without it. We don't plan on doing any Unicode here anyway. What we want to write is input write new line, and we want to write the prompt. And then we want to write end input. We're going to need a way to know when it's done. We'll do with this exact string. We have a new line, done, new line that we want to match on. So n equals the empty string, and while n is not equal to n done n. Or is this all we want? I think that might be what we want. And the line is self.proc. proc.standardout.readLine. All strings have append. Yeah. So line is that. Plus equals the read line. Let's do let's make it into result. Okay, so line is equal to that. And are we done? Yes. We don't want the done in there. I have the feeling that result is going to need a new line. Just a feeling. And then we would return the result. Could possibly work. Not to, so we will want JPV2. Okay, and if we run this as that and run it, okay, it didn't work. Unexpected model model path makes sense, which we should be using here. Okay, then we got n context, which we'll just ignore. Technically, we should be using that, but we'll ignore it for now. Bytes like this, that. Okay, so we do need bytes. That will be UTF-8. Will get us a bytes. Stir has no decode. I always get that mixed up. Because yeah, that's encode. We concatenate stir, not bytes to stir. Thanks. Okay, so line is a bytes, and we want to be comparing with bytes, and we want to encode as UTF-8. That's fair. Bytes has no attribute encode. Encode. What do you have to do now? We want to do decode. I'm pretty sure I have it backwards. Think about it. We have prompt, which is a stir, and by encoding it, decode UTF-8. Encode into bytes, and we decode the bytes to a string. Cannot open file out Llama2 bin. Okay, why is model path like that? So an interesting thing is kind of how unfortunately useless CodeLlama is. And it's really good if you're making a Copilot, essentially. But I thought it would be more of a GPT fine-tuned with code than GitHub Copilot. But nope, it's definitely like Copilot. Just takes in code and does stuff. Okay, so we do have that. Now, whether or not this is happening is questionable. Okay, need to flush. For sure. And we're reading. Reading, do we need to wait? I don't think so. Let's restart. See how well this works. Probably worth printing the line. The line. They're flushing. I didn't mean to do that. Um, hmm. So close. I think we can totally make this. It's hard to think at 1 a.m. with print sending input format string this thing. Okay, so let's have input, new line, prompt, new line, input. Okay. So now when we run this, we see sending. Seems to be a lot. Hmm. So we have a lot because I'm printing out the user input and stuff. But is it stuck? Yeah, here we go. Sending input, whatever. That. We're waiting for the result. Hmm. Let's do that again. Waiting. We opt NEC bin top. We are running one thing. Wonder why it's not reading standard out. Maybe I shouldn't be using a read line here. But in general, I think it does run. So we're in this state. Then if I say input, enter, hi there, or hello there, let's do that. Yeah, kind of works. And there's lots of new lines, which should work for us. Sounds very Final Fantasy VIII right now. Let's interactively do some stuff. Sub process. Sub process.p open, and will be essentially the same thing here. Yep. Run. Path is out slash Llama2 7b.bin. I and true. Standard in is subprocess.pipe. Standard subprocess pipe. Okay. So if I write in the standard in input, new line, the bytes. Okay. And let's write I. And let's write standard out the line. Standard in the flush. The proc die because is it still alive? Let's see. No, it's not. Okay. Makes sense. So if in standard in, I write this. I write I. Write end of input. And we flash standard in. Out dot read. Read line. And that's not working. What's the problem? What is the problem? I'll be doing this. This time it's totally running. And stopped. Stopped because we didn't compile this, possibly. In a word, yes. Windows XP is amazing. Okay, we got done there. Okay, let's try server again. The old output to restart our state. Looks like it is running. Could be that it takes a long time to process those tokens, so we do have to wait. Though it is annoying. But in principle, it should work because I was able to do it interactively. Using 60% of the memory. But the CPU is idle, so it does seem to be missing something. But it is hard to figure out what that is at 1 a.m. So I think we'll leave the live stream here. And I'll probably post on Twitter if I do get it working. Though even if it is working, like in general, agents and Llama2 are not, not really going to work without some Llama2 fine-tuning at the very least, and probably using a 70 billion parameter model. So those might be things that we'll experiment with later. And this was interesting. It's like interesting to see how the that's weird. How kind of like not great the other tools are when it comes to agents. They definitely have a far way to go, but it was interesting to see how easy it is to switch up the base API for something that's custom, like XALLM server, which is compatible with the OpenAI ecosystem. Now, this is open source, so everybody can work on it, but it's definitely a work in progress. So don't expect to be sending production traffic to that just yet. We kind of saw how, when dealing with a language model like Llama2, it will prefer having examples. It's not really a chat bot model, so it doesn't, say hi when you say hi to it. It kind of continues whatever kind of article starts with hi on the internet. So that makes things interesting to kind of see that in action. Then finally we got it running on the vector engine and tried to connect to it with the server. And we're very close to that. I'm not 100% sure what the issue is, but I'll probably sleep on it and then kind of announce on Twitter what it is if I do figure it out. Must be something simple. Really not sure what it could be, but yeah, like it's kind of stuck here essentially. So I'm not 100% sure why it's stuck, but it is stuck. So that'll be pretty much everything for this live stream. I will be back next Tuesday, though probably at a bit of a later time, unless Paul is able to do. I don't think he is. So yeah, maybe next Tuesday we will still have it, but it'll be a later time. since I'll be in San Francisco and probably jet lagged, so might be a little bit later, but we'll still do it. Remember, September is the time where I'm going to be streaming a lot of the kind of new agent framework that we're working on type of content. So if you are interested in that, be sure to follow the channel and let us know. If you want to try this thing, head over to circuits.io. It is open source and ready for everyone. If agents is interesting for you, check out Express AI. We do have a new website coming on, but essentially you can join the wait list, which will be, people will be getting access to that very, very soon. Because it is running, but we have some work to do with the agent framework still. So join the wait list, and you'll be one of the first people to try it out when it does satisfy my own kind of bar of usefulness. Like minimal useful bot is what we're aiming for right now. So so that was that. There's also Vecto, so anybody can sign up and use Vecto if you want. So if you're interested in that, please go to vecto.ai to figure that out. And with that, I think I've plugged everything that we do over at Express AI. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next week. Thanks, guys.